it's forcing us to get creative. So like I'm going to take on a property with a fixed timeline purchase option at the end of where we agree. So we're just kind of getting a little bit more creative. So we may end up doing owner finance deals if people want to do it, time travel and get 18-month ago pricing. I'm seeing that the volume of deals is kind of less, but like the volume of bullshit is less too. So yeah, I think it's just more, I don't know, there's not more transactions. There's just less BS to sift through.
Makes sense. Are you mostly in Kansas City, Kansas area, that market where you're buying right now, or where you have your six properties, or are you in other?
No, so the first one I bought is 35 minutes south of Kansas City in Pleasanton, Kansas. And then I bought one in Newton, Kansas, which is 3 hours away. And that one taught me the most. We had somebody like crash into a building. He was on drugs. He was trying to live there and then he crashed into it. So like we learned quite a bit with that facility. But the big one is, it was 3 hours away. It's a kind of a pain to, like, you're not going to just drive out there and drive home. Drive out there, do a little bit of work, drive home. So we did the drive a few times. Like, this is crazy. We've got to learn how to remote manage this. The 30 minutes away from the house is like not a big deal. Hey, I'll drive out there. I'll do XYZ, come home. That really allowed us to cast a net. So I've got 3 in Kansas, and the furthest one that's in Kansas is a 3-hour drive. I've got 2 in Missouri, but they're on the other side of Missouri. So Perryville, Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And then I've got 1 in Ohio. That one I bought for a few reasons, but I wanted to prove that I could operate one that was an airplane flight away, not just a drive. So that one's got its own challenges, honestly. That's one of the ones that's a project it's not all unicorns and rainbows. So
most recent purchase, or is that not what?
No, that one, I bought that one about a year ago. And it was a little bit smaller than I was looking for, but I was trying to get it inside of the 2022 tax year and make sure I could depreciate something. That one's not stabilized right now. You were asking about the self-storage market. So this one market has some interesting forces going on. They've got a lot of supply. There's one gentleman that owns like 3 facilities there. And the price when I bought the facility that the competitor was charging was like $109 for, let's say, a 10 by 20 is a fairly standard unit. And he dropped all the way down to, I want to say, 74. So we went from like in the mid upper 80s occupancy wise to like 78%. And then, you're trying to lease up, and then, the other guy's trying to lease up. It's kind of like become a battle of the pricing and customer service. So that's one where some things that I didn't expect happened, and it's okay, but that's that's probably the worst black eye I've got with the storage is that one, and it just kind of is what it is. We may actually get rid of that one because it's just kind of like sits out in orbit as its own thing. So
what's the lesson on that? Like, as far as, it sounds like analyzing a deal, the market that it's in, was supply demand an element that maybe you hadn't factored in at the beginning when you purchased it?
Yeah, I think I actually just fell in love with the idea of depreciating the heck out of this one. It had multiple portables on it. I was super bullish on just filling this thing up and doing an expansion, but like, why would you do an expansion if you're not even full, right? So I think I was just super bullish on, hey, I can turn this thing into, is doing like $5,500 a month, and I go, hey, if I continue to fill it up, I expand it, I can raise rates, I can turn it, into close to 10 grand a month. And I was just, I think, feeling invisible on it, honestly. And then on the other side of it, already had some portables. We were able to depreciate a lot. I needed to make that happen last year. So
portable, sorry. What is a portable?
Oh, okay. So traditional storage units are pretty simple. It's like a concrete slab with either a wood framed or a metal pole barn. A portable unit would be something that you usually buy them in like 12 of them at a time. They ship flat pack. You can assemble them on the property. So the cool thing about those is last year they were 100% bonus depreciation. This year they're 80%. So we are going to do some this year at a different facility, but they're really easy to throw up. And then another advantage is on small lots, you can push them to the lot line. Whereas like buildings, you may have to be 15 feet off or whatever the city requires.
Why did you go self-storage versus multifamily or some other asset class?
Yeah, I was actually chasing multifamily. And then there was a guy, I was on the phone with one of the owners of a storage facility where I had my camper stored at. And I was just curious because I'm, dabbling in real estate. Like, who owns this kind of thing? And she goes, oh, my husband and I. And so I said, oh, okay, cool. I'm looking to buy some apartments. And I'm just talking to people. You tell everybody, if you're looking to buy something, one of the lessons for any of the listeners is just like, just tell everybody you're buying that. You never know. You tell 1,000 people, maybe one person will have a deal. So her husband called me back later that week and said, hey, my wife, Christine, said, you're looking to buy some apartments. So I have some 3 hours away in Newton, Kansas. I have five multifamily buildings. I'll sell one a year because I'm trying to spread out the tax burden. So cool. Toured him. Guy was super honest. His name's Jason. And he was going through the reality of self-managing. Like, he had 400 doors at the time. And he's like bubble gum and duct taping everything together. And he's like, that's how I'm profitable. I don't know how you're going to hire a property management company. A plumbing call is going to be an emergency call. He's like, we just show up and fix it. Right. And it costs $3 to fix it. You're going to pay $200 every time somebody shows up. So he was questioning profitability on my behalf, even though it was like a 12 cap, because he just had no expenses. So I asked, okay, so why are you selling all these? And he goes, oh, I'm going all in on storage. He was tired of dealing with it's 400 doors of residential is a lot for a self-managing person, right? And he was beat down. And then tenant landlord laws are a lot different for storage and multifamily. So multifamily is great, but the pain I saw and he communicated, like, just by being super honest, I was like, I was driving back. I had a friend with me, and he's like, well, what's your takeaway from that one? I go, I think I'm going to get in storage. Like, we can just skip this whole 14-year building cycle of he built his whole, that was my dream. Like, he's at the end of my dream and he wants out. And so, yeah, we just like skip that whole process and, jumped into storage. So
what is the disadvantage from your perspective of going self-storage versus multifamily, if any?
Well, people don't need storage, right? You need somewhere to put your head. And so I see that if Americans become less consumers, or let's say, like, do you have an aging population right now that is just stuck to their stuff, and maybe the newer generations aren't as emotionally attached to things? I could see that being an issue. Another downside to storage is it's easy to build, right? It's a concrete slab, some framing. You don't even need electrical, right? So supply is a big risk. The enemy of self-storage is self-storage. So that's for me, those are the two downsides, but there's a lot of positives too.
How do you stand out? How do you ensure that? Because there's always going to be the need for it. So what strategy have you seen, or are you implementing to make sure that, because you're right, that those things could shift. Somebody does build or whatever it might be, but how do you ensure that you're still the one standing in any given market?
Yeah, so we answer the phone. We just make sure the phone's answered. The crazy thing about storage is they're typically in the markets that we're in, they're a third-tier market, tertiary markets. They're not ran by a REIT. They don't have a full-time manager. Maybe they're most likely not big enough to support the salary of a full-time manager. So this is a person with a full-time job that's an insurance agent, or it could be a dentist or somebody that has an income earning job. And this was just some sideline because they had some cash, and they're, maybe that they have an idea that's going to be their retirement or whatever. But I mean, we're finding that in markets. So that sets us apart. The person who answers the phone closes the sale, right? They could call 3 storage facilities. They call us, we answer the phone. Now price doesn't matter, right? It's about having the supply when somebody needs it. So, I mean, we're in markets where somebody has their pricing posted on the side of a building, and they're 50%, or like, we're 50% more than them. So like, if they were $100, we might be $150. We answer the phone and we close the sale. And there's a cost to that, right? You have a cost to software that makes sure people are paying on time and don't get auctioned off. And there's a cost to having somebody on the phone, and that's kind of what we explain to people. But really, like, generally doesn't get questioned.
Yeah. What's a mistake that you made maybe on the first purchase that you made, on the purchase, on managing that asset, on what you learned in the process of acquisition or taking it over or repositioning it, that you now don't repeat, that you learned that you didn't repeat on the sixth asset that you purchased?
Yeah, so I think the big mistake that I had was using keyed locks. I didn't have any system set up to where we could let a customer in to a unit that was locked up remotely. So I had an issue where we were on a vacation. I wasn't going to be home for like 3 days. I locked somebody out for non-payment, hadn't paid in like 4 months. Guy calls me, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I got my credit card right here." Like, cool. And so take his credit card info. He goes, "All right, I need in, when can you be here to open it up for me?" And I'm like, 3 days. And he was livid, like flew off the handle. I'm like, "Hey guy, you had like 4 months." But this was like ruining his wife's like Thanksgiving weekend because she wanted to set up their Christmas tree. Or, I mean, it was something silly, but it was what it was. So after that, I felt terrible. They have a lock company called Vinci, and they have an app that kind of integrates. So they have a database that logs a serial number in combination with the combination code, and then also lock status that integrates with our tenant management software. So like for a move-in, you could do a move-in now at 2 a.m. and get texted the code to get in your unit as long as you've signed all your agreements, provided identification, all that stuff. So I think it's like I didn't have the right system set up would probably be a more complete answer to like operate efficiently. And so over time that's worked. And then I don't think it was a mistake, but like me answering the phones, it's not scalable, right? So you have to put people in place to do things for you, but you can't afford that with the first one, right? So I don't know, the first 18 months, I just bootstrapped it and ran it, learned the business and learned it enough to hire somebody to do that. And then we're continuing to hire. So
makes sense. The one other quick thing I was thinking about from a tax perspective, tax depreciation perspective, is self-storage less depreciable than say multifamily or retail?
Yes. Yeah, there's less mechanical components, right? You're not depreciating like HVAC units. We have a lot of like roll-up doors. But I think our percentage, gosh, I want to say it was like 25% or 20 or 25% on average. I forget what the actual number was. I just kind of got that.
25% of the total value is the
purchase. Yeah.
Depreciable versus
60. Something like that. And I could be wrong. It varies because when we had that facility that had all of the portable buildings, they just section 179 those things. And that was killer. Like, I think that one brought it up close to 50.
Wow. That's incredible.
Right.
It's interesting just to go through that because you do have the trade-off, right? Like, so, okay, Greg, you get more depreciation, say on multifamily or retail, but God, retail and office right now scare the hell out of me. And on the multifamily side, man, I've owned my portfolio of 40 units directly. We've sold them all, but man, tenants are a pain in the ass. They're a pain in the ass. Right. You might have that, like you said, of the guy, pays, of course, the 3 days that you're away on vacation, but you put a system in place and that kind of rectifies it, right? So
yeah, so on that story though, now he could log on, pay, and he'd get a text to open it up, or he could call my customer service rep and she'd give him the combo right away. So yeah, we eliminate that. Tenants so it's a small percentage, right? It's not even 80-20. I mean, it's like under 1% that are a pain. Like most of them are great. Most of them auto pay, whatever, or they're move in, move out, whatever, without a hitch. But there's like this 0.5% that are just, it's got to be, that's probably the mix of the population too. There's just this small percentage of people that just suck. Yeah. So,
and multifamily, it's a higher percentage.
Yeah. One thing that so now I'm going into another thing I would have done different was, so by answering the phones, the big mistake there was people know you're the owner and they could tug on your heartstrings, man. I'm not a jerk. I wouldn't be evicting a single mom on Christmas Eve from her apartment, but you get all these stories. Everybody's got a story. And right now it's like, there's a separation between like customer service rep and they can be firm and fair and we'll generally always make a deal the first time as long as you're communicative and all that. But when it comes time to enforcing that firmness, it's so much easier to have that buffer in place and not get the nastiness directly as the owner. So
that's honestly, it's the brilliance of corporate structures. You know, you got the line level people who got their marching orders. They can abide by it. But why do people ask for the supervisor and the manager and the regional manager and all that stuff? Because there's somebody in the chain that doesn't want to deal with it. And they're not going to send it to the next level because the next level is too big to deal with it, right?
Right.
So they're going to figure it out. So same, man. Like when I managed my own portfolio, stupid. I should have hired a manager right out of the gate. But I remember going to one of the properties like a Saturday. It was supposed to be for like 10 minutes, do something quick. And it was like a fucking zombie apocalypse, right? I walk in, I'm talking to this one tenant. She's getting loud. That opens up like the upstairs doors and these tenants come like out of there. They come down. I got like 8 of them surrounding me. My son is there, right? And I'm there for like 3 hours trying to like,
oh my God,
address everything of theirs and keep them calm. And we're going to sue you. And then I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's a pain. I'll take the 25%, property and land value depreciation over the 60 or 70% in the multi.
Right.
All day.
Yeah. Or just be a little bit more spaced off. Right. I think I'd be more apt to like, I think multifamily is a great asset, but I wouldn't want to be that close to running it. Right. So
neither did I. And we did hire a manager after that. It's funny. Like the guy said, and this was funny because we had the same concern. It's like, I don't know if there's enough meat on the bone. We're still repositioning. I don't know if we can hire a manager and cash flow. We hired a manager. We were paying more and we cash flowed more. Within 2 months, we cash flowed more because I was out of the way, right? They were actually bringing market rents and they weren't panicking if the apartment didn't rent 2 days after it listed and dropping the price. They were keeping it firm and, continuing to push it. Good marketing, like all those things. That guy that had 40 units, I guarantee you put a manager in place, it would have been a way easier management, oversight of his entire operation. But thanks for tuning in. If you want to hear this entire episode, the audio links are down below. But if you want to see another episode that we think you would enjoy on this channel, click right here.